Hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers who are here with us today. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and one of the MCs here at Gold. And today I'm chatting with Kelly Durbin about the upcoming presentation for the Gold Lactation Conference here. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. You have such a great topic for the conference. Your topic title is Collateral Damage, Exploring the Impact of Routine Birth Intervention on Breastfeeding. Such an important topic. We want to jump into that in just a minute, but before we do so, tell us a little bit about your background.
So, I have been a lactation consultant since 2018, but I've been involved in lactation for a lot longer. I first entered this arena as a volunteer. So, I've been providing volunteer breastfeeding support for about 15 years. And I think after I realized maybe 5 or 6 years into it that I was thoroughly interested and intrigued, I decided to pursue it as a real career path. I became certified and later on took the exam and became a board certified lactation consultant. I'm also a childbirth educator and I work for Childbirth International.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And you do have a book, right? You have a new book from 2023 titled Protecting Your Potential for Breastfeeding. So talk to briefly about that wonderful book of yours.
Thank you. I do have a new book, and I part of the reason why I came into being an author and writing this book in the first place was because during the years that I was providing volunteer support, I was meeting so many people who were struggling with the same topics over and over again, same challenges, same problems. And I thought, this is such valuable information, things that kind of are unseen or hidden that people don't often think of as lactation obstacles. And over the years, I started collecting more and more ideas about why are we experiencing so many obstacles. Once my list grew to over 40 or 50 um, elements that interfere with lactation, I figured I have to write this or collect it in a way that I could help people understand or communicate in a better way. At first, I thought this would be a breastfeeding class and I would just teach people about lactation. But once my list grew to be so long, I figured it would have to be a different format. That's how it ended up becoming a book. In part one of the book, it's straightforward information about how to get breastfeeding started, how to maximize your potential. In part two of the book, it's filled with breastfeeding interference and obstacles.
And breastfeeding interference and obstacles, that's what we're talking in your topic here for the lactation conference, right? The collateral damage, exploring the impact of routine birth interventions on breastfeeding. I can't even tell you how excited I am because this is such a topic that we need to talk about. It feels like birth has been always something that was like an afterthought. Oh, the baby's here now. We need to get baby on the breast and get things going. But it would be helpful to know what kind of birth it was, right? What happened during birth, because it really can have an impact on lactation. So talk to me a little bit about that.
It absolutely is important. And a lot of folks don't go into their birth experience thinking
Mm,
the decisions that I make or the
right.
interventions that I encounter are going to impact me in some way in terms of breastfeeding. People just aren't aware. And I'm
Hmm.
finding that even in the aftermath, when things are maybe going a little bit haywire, it's unlikely that someone would automatically think to themselves, oh, it's because of something that happened during birth. So I often, when I meet with people, I ask them thorough questions about, tell me about your birth experience. How did this go? What was this like? And slowly the picture starts to form about things that could have happened during birth or did happen that could play into some of the lactation frustrations that people do experience. I will have to say, though, Kristen, right off the bat, it doesn't spell the end of breastfeeding. It just creates obstacles and maybe some interference for the first week or two. Most of the time, all of these things can be overcome with very good support.
Hmm.
Sometimes there are really extreme downstream consequences that can impact lactation in negative ways. And I've seen people realize that this has happened to them, but only too late, maybe, 6 or 8 weeks later. So it's really imperative. And as you said, it's not something that people learn about.
No,
It's not something that we're talking about or that folks are informed about
right,
prior
right.
to their birth experience.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's so important because that's something, and you're a childbirth educator as well, that we need to bring up in classes, informed, so the parents can do and make informed decisions, right? Because some
Absolutely.
might would have said, "Oh, if I had just known that this would have an impact of breastfeeding, I maybe would have thought about it a little bit more or made a different decision." Maybe not, but I feel like they don't get the full picture to make that decision. Informed consent is all about having that information, right?
Absolutely. And one of the other things that can impact the early week or weeks of lactation is even if you felt like you came out of your birth experience, it didn't maybe go as you wanted, but um, there were no other good options. Maybe you
Right.
had to choose an intervention. Sometimes that
Hmm.
happens.
Right.
Knowing that maybe can help somebody get the early support that they need because they may be already informed enough to know, after this intervention or that intervention, I really do need some extra support. So instead of putting it
Hmm.
off or thinking, oh, breastfeeding will get better tomorrow, or I heard that, the transition to mature milk could be as late as 4 or 5 days, instead of
Hmm.
just thinking benefit of the doubt here, it might be more advantageous to dive in with high level support or at least some kind of breastfeeding support,
Right.
knowing that you had those interventions.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's giving it a head start, so to speak, after,
Yes.
sometimes we might not have a choice or, or the choice was made,
Hmm.
but then having like good support right afterwards, knowing what happened there. Now, let me ask you this. I'm curious about something about research. Is there any research? And if so, I can imagine there must be huge research gaps to see how interventions actually impact breastfeeding. Have you come across a lot of research or what have you seen there?
This is a fascinating topic, and there is definitely loads of research out there, but it's all, of course, focused on different points of topics within the whole birth intervention literature. So
Mhm.
if you're interested in something, you have to search for it specifically. You're not going to just suddenly hit on a gold mine of research that shows all the information about birth interventions in one place. I will tell you that I came across something recently from Australia that had looked at several interventions during a single birth experience. And this is fascinating that what they showed in their research was more interventions during a single birth impacts breastfeeding at a higher level. So you get this dose response effect. So the research is fascinating. It's out there if anybody is interested and you want to take a deep dive. But you need to have your search terms defined and know exactly what you're looking for.
That's valuable information right there. Thank you for sharing that as well. Now, you mentioned good support. I mean, like this, of course, is a presentation in the lactation conference. So this is for our IBCLS lactation consultants and everybody working in lactation. They're on the forefront there, right? They are the boots on the ground to really help get parents off to a good start. So it goes both ways, educating parents about, interventions, but also the lactation care providers about what to expect.
Yes, absolutely. And the more that we know, the more we can investigate in better ways, asking good questions, finding out what happened to someone during a birth experience or even in the immediate postpartum period, which can also be part of that and play into downstream consequences. But yeah, it is important for lactation consultants as well as parents to be informed. And we're finding that the more information that people have, the better off they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, Kelly, before I let you go, any last words for our viewers? What can they look forward to in the presentation? What you're hoping that they take away with them?
Well, I do hope that people find something. Many people these days, especially lactation professionals, anybody who is on the forefront, as you mentioned, we are hearing about this more and more, even if it's
Mhm.
just a little bit. But I hope that through this talk at Gold this year, that even people who have some knowledge of what's going on with birth and interventions and breastfeeding will be able to take away some more information. And this talk includes a good risk assessment questionnaire at the end of the talk. So we'll discuss really great questions that you can ask your clients to help investigate and dig down into how did we find ourselves in this position? Did birth interventions play a role in what we're experiencing now or why your client has come to see you?
Fascinating. I can't wait for this presentation. I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here with me today. And I'm looking forward to hearing and learning from you in the conference.
Thank you.
And now some information for our viewers. If you're excited and interested in this presentation and all the other presentations in the conference, please visit goldlactation.com. You can find all the information there. And we get started with our open access free keynote presentation here on April 2nd. So make sure you reserve your spot and share that information with all your friends and colleagues in the field. And I hope to see everyone at the conference. Bye-bye, everyone.